Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, thank you for dropping by. We're talking about my unexpected pageant journey from distinguished young women to the Miss USA stage. If you're returning, thanks for coming back. If you're new, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos on fashion, pageantry, travel, and just all the fun things of life. I know one of the big questions I get when people hear that I was Miss Idaho USA, they're like, oh, so did you like grow up just doing pageants? And I always love seeing their face when I'm like, no, I'd never done a pageant before. I competed in a scholarship program, and then I came back, competed twice for Miss Idaho USA and won on my second try, and then I retired. It's just fun hearing how different people got into pageantry. I would say of my Miss USA class, just off the cuff, I'd probably say we were about like 60-40, like 40% not people that had competed in pageants their entire lives, and 60% that had maybe done Miss America or things like that beforehand. So we'll go ahead and start with distinguished young women. So if you watched my DYW video already, I posted that a few weeks ago, just kind of about the program, what it entails, and my journey through that program. But DYW, or Distinguished Young Women, is a scholarship program for high school girls that are juniors in high school. So it was huge in the tiny town I'm from, Colfax, Washington, shout out. And so I grew up going to that program, watching the girls who were juniors compete on stage, and it just looked like so much fun, and I always knew I wanted to do it. So when I was a junior in high school, competed in DYW, I won my local program, which was incredible, and I was able to go on to state. Now that program is a little bit different because, again, I said it's a scholarship program. We'll talk later in the video about the difference between a scholarship program and a pageant, because I get that question a lot. I went on to state in this program, and it was just incredible. It was the first chance I really had where I felt like, wow, I'm surrounded by like-minded girls my age that are dedicated and motivated and have big goals for their life. And it just was really inspiring to me. But even with that, I kind of thought that was it. I never saw myself really competing in a pageant. So that was 2008. And fast forward, gosh, I guess 7 years, I think. I had graduated from college, and I was in my first full-time job living in Idaho, and I just felt like, gosh, is this like all post-college life is? I mean, I go to work, I come home, and I just was kind of bored. I felt like I needed a new challenge. I was used to being in a ton of different extracurricular activities, so this was the first time I really had all this free time on my hands and didn't know what to do with myself. So this is where I feel like God really played a huge part in it, because there's some things that you have decided for your life that you want to do, and then there's other things that he like throws in front of you, and you're like, oh, okay, that's my next step. And this was one of those things. So like I said, I was just feeling like I wanted to do something but didn't know what. I was like, gosh, is it my job? Is it where I'm living? Do I need to like move to New York City? Like, I was just trying to figure out what was next. And I kept getting this seed planted in different places of the Miss Idaho USA program. So first it was like one of the girls I was managing at work asked me for time off because she was going to compete in this pageant. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of someone doing a beauty pageant before. Like, way to go. That's awesome. So she did that. Then we were at a restaurant, and randomly out of the blue, the person we were with was like, oh, our server, yeah, she competed at Miss Idaho USA. And I was like, okay, everyone is talking about this Miss Idaho USA. Like, what is this? And so finally enough of these little signs were being planted in my path that I was like, okay, fine, I'll look into this pageant thing, see what it's all about. So I just went to the website, tried to learn a little bit about it, and I started to think, like, I've always loved volunteering and community service. I've always been involved in that. I have no fear of public speaking. I love being on stage. I did like all the like small time runway modeling stuff in college and thought that was just like such a rush and so fun. I was a fitness instructor, so I was used to being in the gym, working out. And coming from a small town, being a role model was something that was always really important to me. So it was just like, man, all of these things I've been doing my entire life have kind of made me well-rounded for this world of pageantry. So I thought, you know what? Why not? It'd give me something to work towards, something to be doing on my days off, get back into the gym because I hadn't been working out a whole lot. And I just thought, well, this could be kind of a fun little activity. So I signed up for Miss Idaho USA in 2016 without ever watching the Miss USA pageant. Never in my life. My mom's not a super like girly girl. I didn't grow up watching Miss America and Miss USA like some people's families do. That just was not our style. And so the 2016 Miss USA pageant was the first pageant I ever watched. And that was, I guess that was 2015. I competed for 2016. So 2015 pageant was the first one I ever watched where Olivia Jordan won. And I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. I think this will be fun. I'm excited about this. I worked out. I practiced some, current event type questions. This whole time I'd continued working with the DYW program. So I was used to training them on how to do their interviews and how to answer a question fully, completely, and all those things. So I felt like I was as prepared as I could be while knowing nothing about it. I went to Spokane to get my dress for the Miss Idaho USA program, and I didn't even really know what I was doing because, like I said, I didn't know anyone that had done a pageant before. I had watched one pageant on TV. So I picked this dress. I'll insert a photo here, but it was like a emerald green because green is totally my color, but it was like a cocktail dress underneath and then like a long overskirt. And it's so funny. I found out later that some of the girls I competed with didn't think it was fair because my dress was short, so it was easy to walk in. But I'm like, girl, I didn't know what I was doing. I just showed up in a dress that was a good color for me and in my price range. Yeah, I showed up that weekend. I was decently prepared. I think I was a little over prepared for interview, or I don't even know if over prepared is the right word, but I was used to coming from a scholarship program standpoint where you want to be, well, you want to have personality. You also want to be very authoritative and know your opinions and be very well versed on all the things. So I came across probably a little over rehearsed, if anything. I think the only place I was able to show any personality was when they asked, we had to put our secret for success on our bio, and I put Excel spreadsheets. So I think the only time I showed my personality was when they asked about that, and I was like, ooh, I love spreadsheets. Not what I would coach someone to do for a Miss USA interview, but I was doing what I knew how to do. So that weekend competed. It was so funny because I had met Sydney Halper, who ended up winning that year. I met her maybe at an appearance prior to state. She was also from Moscow, so we were living in the same town. She had competed 3 times before and was definitely the favorite going into that year. And we started with semifinals, which was top 12, top 15, something like that. And then it cut down to the top 5, and me and Sydney were both in the top 5, and we're like, yay, way to go Moscow, whatever. So then we're backstage and we're quizzing each other, okay, what could the top 5 questions be? And there was a big situation going on with a gentleman who was in the National Guard, I believe, in Idaho that was making national news. I brought that up to Sydney as okay, what's your answer if they ask about this? And she was like, what is that? And so I explained to her the situation and what's going on in the news, and we get out on stage, and that was her question. They asked her about that specific instance, and she was able to get through the question on stage and show that she knew what she was talking about. And Sydney won that year. And that was another situation where I just felt like it was so God orchestrated, because we all knew that Sydney was the right choice to go to Miss USA. And so I feel like me and her having that conversation backstage and me reminding her of this news story that she hadn't heard about really helped her to be able to answer that question and move on to Miss USA and make us all proud, which she totally did. I got second runner-up, so 3rd place essentially. And I was so excited. And I remember afterwards people came up and they're like, please come back. We'd really love for you to compete again. And I was like, girl, of course, that was so much fun. Why wouldn't I come back? Like, I think some people expected you to be upset if you don't win, which maybe if you compete numerous times and you're not winning, that would be upsetting. But this was my first time and I made top 5 and then got second runner up. I was on cloud 9 and Sydney won, who I'd been rooting for. So it was just a great day. Well, my onstage question, because this will come up later, was what would you specifically say or do to promote the Miss Idaho USA program if you were chosen? And I was pretty confident in that answer. I talked about reaching out and mentoring youth in the community and just showing them what it is to be a good role model and how I've been doing that. I don't think I specifically mentioned the DYW program, but just that that's something that I'm passionate about, is being a role model. So I felt like that was a good answer and it got me 3rd place. So I guess it worked. So fast forward, like I said, I was so excited with the placement, definitely wanted to come back the following year. So I dedicated myself that year to learning as much as I possibly could about the Miss USA program. So I followed Sydney's reign so closely, watched all the things that like she got to go and do and the different events. I watched every like Miss USA and Miss Universe program that I could find on YouTube, because training for pageants does not have to be expensive. You just have to be resourceful. So around this time, I also renewed my Zumba certification. So I became a Zumba instructor at the local gym at University of Idaho. I was getting paid to make sure I worked out a couple times a week teaching classes. And along with that, I got a free gym membership to the entire facility. So that allowed me a great place to train and get ready for the following year's pageant. So while I was on the treadmill and the stair climber and whatever else, I would just take my phone and put on, like, I think I would start with like Miss USA 1990 on YouTube. And if it wasn't there, I'd go to 1991 and just like keep going. And I watched all of them numerous times. And so it would just help me to be able to see, okay, how are they answering their questions? How are their bodies moving on stage? Like just picking up on all those little things. It just also helped me get so excited about the idea that I could be on that stage. Like I said, I'd never watched Miss USA before. I didn't know what it was like. So seeing like all the different huge artists that have performed at Miss USA and Miss Universe competitions, and noticing the people that have gone on to do incredible things like Halle Berry, and it just all got me so much more excited for the following year. I feel like the big changes that I made that year going into interview, I had watched enough of these pageants and seen the girls on stage and realized the Miss USA program especially, it's about being well-rounded. Yes, it's about being able to communicate, but it's also about your personality. Are you someone fun and engaging to talk to when you have that 30-second sound bite that they're looking for? I mean, think of the Miss USA program interviews. They're like 2 to 2.5 minutes long. You don't have a lot of time to make an impression. You got to come in personality shining. And so I felt like I did that year. With my gown choice, I was obsessed with this gown that I had found. So I will insert a photo here of the Lupita Nyong'o dress from, I believe it was the Emmys that year. She had worn a Ralph Lauren cape dress. It was like on every best dressed list. And Mac Dougal, another designer that I love, happened to come out with a very, very similar gown that I found at the Beauty Brand Believe Expo. So that's another thing I did to train for Miss Idaho USA, was attend the Beauty Brand Believe Expo. They had interviews with judges, walking coaches, former Miss USA Nia Sanchez. So I was just a sponge, soaking in as much as I could. And that is where I actually found my gown for that year. So I found this Lupita Nyong'o look-alike dress, and my budget for my gown that year was like $500. Again, you don't have to break the bank to compete in a pageant. Found this dress on the rack, my size, $499. And I was like, sold, take it, give it to me. This is the gown. I remember calling my friend Tracy and telling her, like, I found the Lupita gown. Like, this is gonna be my gown. And I just felt like a literal queen on that stage. It was so subtle, so understated. I always describe my fashion sense as classic with a twist. And this dress was that to a T. Like, there was no beating, no bedazzling, nothing typical pageant. It was total like runway red carpet fashion, and it was me to a T. So coming back for my second year, I felt like I knew what I was doing. I had been in the top 5 the previous year, so I felt like I was walking in, with a little bit of clout, like I belonged there and all of that. So it's so funny. I have talked to other people that have won, and they've had a similar, I guess, mindset going into pageant weekend. So I remember showing up, and David and Maureen run Pageants Northwest. They're amazing. And David always gives like a big motivational speech that first weekend that you get there. And it's just talking about like, even if you're not a winner, all the things you can gain from it. Like there's only one crown, but what can everyone else take away from the experience? It's a wonderful speech. He is so inspiring when he talks about those things. But it was like in my mind, not in an overconfident way, but I was just like, this speech is for everyone else. Like this is my year. I'm going to be the one with the crown, and this speech is for everyone here. And I noticed that as the speech was going on, and I was like, oh wow, where did that come from? Because I didn't walk in the door being like, this is mine, I'm going to win this crown, all of that. But it was just while the speech was going on, I was like, yeah, I think this is my year. And lo and behold, it was. Another crazy moment that I have to mention leading up to training for the second year. So at the time, I had like a 15-ish minute commute to and from work every day. And usually during that time, embarrassingly enough, I would be practicing interview questions with myself in my car. And so I remember coming home one day, and this thought popped in my head, like, if you got the same question as you did last year, how would you say it differently? Or what would you do differently? And I was like, oh, I don't know if you've ever had those thoughts where it's like, I did not come up with that. Like, that was a question that God put in my head that I never would have thought of. And so I was like, oh, wow, okay, yeah, let me think about that. So I thought about that question and how I would answer it specifically. And what's funny is I get to pageant weekend, and I go to my interview. Interview went great, showed my personality, really chatty and fun, and got to on stage portion, felt great about all of that. I was in like the best shape of my life. And so competed in prelims, came back for finals. I made that semifinals, made that top 5, and get out on stage for my top 5 question. And I got the exact same question as my first year. If that thought had not been put in my head of how would you answer it and how would you do it differently, I know I would have been deer in the headlights, because I would have been like, oh, I can't say the same thing as last year. How do I say this and make it different? And because I had that experience, because I had thought about it, I knew exactly what I wanted to say. And it went great. So then I went back and stepped in line and ended up getting crowned, and I became Miss Idaho USA 2017. So I'll just end with the motto that I competed with my second year. There was an incredible interview with Alex Worley, who I love, former Miss Wisconsin USA, and Kristen Dalton Wolf, who was Miss USA in, I think, 2009. And she said her motto training was, train like it's up to you, pray like it's up to God, or something to that effect. And that was just so inspiring to me, because it's like, I can put in as much work as possible to this, but if it is not in God's will for my life, it is not going to happen. So I'm going to pray and hope that it is in His will for my life, and I'm going to work so hard that when I get on stage there, if His will lines up with this dream of mine, that it is undeniable that I'm the right person for the job. And luckily enough, that is what happened when I was at Miss Idaho USA, and that's how I became Miss Idaho USA 2017. Like I said, I want to kind of discuss the differences between a scholarship program and a pageant, because as you know, I've competed in both. So the Distinguished Young Women's Program, so that was a high school scholarship program. And so to be a scholarship program, obviously there's got to be scholarship money at stake. In DYW, there's tons of scholarship money at stake. But not only that, I think the big thing that differentiates a pageant from a scholarship program is the external component. So when I'm judging a DYW program, I'm judging strictly based on scholastic scores, interview content and delivery, on stage, the fitness routine, just precision, endurance, things like that, talent, how good is their talent, and on stage question, again, that personality, content, and delivery. So you'll notice no part of that was to judge on outward appearance. So I think that is a big difference that sets apart scholarship programs from pageants. Whereas with pageants, there is that additional component. When you're judging a pageant, they may tell you to look for different things depending on what they want in that title holder. So they may say, we want someone who's really charismatic, or we want someone who is just walks in the room and is just undeniably beautiful. It's totally based on the pageant system and the directors and what they're looking for, but it does have that kind of external component. So yeah, I think the big differences between a scholarship program and a pageant is there scholastic money available or scholarship money available, and is external beauty or the external brought into the judging components. So I've competed in both. I would say I'm now an expert in both, and I enjoy coaching on both because I judge in both the DYW program and the Miss USA system. So if you're competing in either one of those categories, or even a system that falls in between, I am happy to give you some coaching assistance. I'm going to link everything below for you. So I have a full video on the Distinguished Young Women's Program, my experience competing, and what judges look for in each phase of competition. I will link that down below. I will also link to my blog, the 10 most popular interview questions. So no matter what kind of program, scholarship, or pageant that you are competing in, you have some good test questions to be working on with a friend or family member. And then finally, I will link down to my pageant coaching page on my blog. If you are someone who wants some one-on-one assistance getting ready for your upcoming scholarship program or pageant, let me know. I would love to work with you and just get you feeling as prepared as possible. So I think I may have to do like a Q&A on here and on Instagram to get some good specific questions of what you guys want to know about competing at Miss USA, about being a Miss USA program title holder. So if you're watching this video and you're interested in that content, please comment down below what kind of questions, what specific things you want to know about competing at Miss USA, and I will work on putting that video together for you. So again, thank you so much for joining me and tuning in for this video. I hope it's been fun and informative for you to hear my personal pageant journey. But thank you so much for tuning into this video. Again, I will link everything below for you. And if you would like to assist me in my upcoming video of my Miss USA experience and what it's like being a title holder in the Miss USA program, please leave your comments, questions below, or go to my Instagram, Style by Cassie, and either DM me or comment your questions there as well. I'll start compiling a list, and then I will get started on that video. That might be a long one. There's a whole lot to talk about, and I'm excited. I'm excited to take you guys through that time and walk down memory lane. So if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button, like this video, and I will see you next time. Thanks, guys.